with a view of sharing, disseminating, promoting and creating a cross-country peer learning on the best practices to empower the persons with disabilities. The International Seminar on Sharing of Best Practices in Empowerment of Divyangjan, that is the physically and mentally challenged persons, for inclusive growth with a special focus on inclusive arts, is held every year in Sambhav since 2007. This year also, in Sambhav 2022, we are going to present an international seminar on awareness about disability in my country. I welcome you all to the International Seminar of Sambhav 2022. In this seminar, 6 papers will be presented. The seminar will start with presentations of 3 distinguished speakers from Russia. We have Mr. Andrei Mokhalin, First Deputy General Director of the Cultural and Sports Rehabilitation Center of the All Russia Association of the Blind from Russia. We have Mr. Tagir Khayletdinov, a renowned name in the field of culture of Russia and artistic director of All Russian Events of Socio-Cultural Rehabilitation of the Cultural and Sports Rehabilitation Center of the All Russia Association of the Blind, Russia. We also have with us Mr. Sanjit Kumar Jha, President of Association of Indians of Russia and Director of the Center for Indian Culture in Moscow, Russia.
Уважаемые коллеги, дорогие друзья! От имени руководства культурно-спортивного реабилитационного комплекса Всероссийского общества слепых и лично генерального директора Владимира Петровича Баженова я приветствую вас, уважаемая гуру А.Л.П.А.Н.А. Наяк. Также мы передаем свои наилучшие пожелания почетным гостям и участникам международного инклюзивного мероприятия «Сambhav» из Москвы. Этот год знаменательный для Индии. 75 лет назад страна обрела независимость. Индия по праву пользуется высоким авторитетом на мировой арене, играет важную роль в решении актуальных вопросов международной повестки дня. С момента своего образования Республика Индия тесно сотрудничает и с Советской Россией, и с современной Российской Федерацией. Наши страны имеют общую память и вместе двигаются в будущее. Важно, что индийский народ не только чтит свои традиции и сохраняет культуру, но и формирует современные тенденции в сфере помощи тем, кто испытывает дополнительные сложности повседневной жизни. Мы с уважением относимся к вашим стремлениям в работе по развитию социальной сферы, особенно помощи слабовидящим и незрячим людям. Мы уверены, что затраченные усилия, безусловно, дадут свои результаты, и мы вместе достигнем новых вершин. Также в этом году мы отмечаем 75-летие со дня установления дипломатических отношений между Россией и Индией. Сегодня дружба между нашими странами развивается на новых рубежах сотрудничества. Мы рады, что имеем возможность объединить наши усилия для помощи и поддержки людей, имеющих проблемы со здоровьем. Помогаем им развивать свои способности и максимально реализовываться в жизни. В последние годы в нашей жизни произошли существенные изменения. Мы стали еще больше ценить возможность личного общения и совместной работы. Мы благодарим организаторов международного инклюзивного мероприятия «Sambhav» за то, что, несмотря на все ограничения, вы смогли собрать в онлайн-формате представителей из разных стран для того, чтобы мы поделились своим опытом в сфере реабилитации, открыли для себя мировые практики и снова встретились с нашими коллегами и товарищами. Также мы благодарим правительство Индии за поддержку международного сотрудничества в интересах людей с ограниченными возможностями здоровья. Хочется отметить, что уже на протяжении 10 лет культурно-спортивный реабилитационный комплекс Всероссийского общества слепых сотрудничает с Ассоциацией по изучению исполнительских искусств. За это время около 50 российских инвалидов по зрению из Сибири, Урала, Приволжья, Кавказа, южной и центральных частей нашей страны смогли посетить Дели и представить там свои умения и таланты. Ребята с теплотой вспоминают гостеприимную Индию, а для нас особенно почетно, что в 2018 году гуру А.Л.П.А.Н.А. посетила Москву и приняла участие в Международном реабилитационном форуме ВОС «Интеграция». Благодаря этому участники форума смогли познакомиться с индийской культурой и узнали много нового. Еще раз поздравляем вас, дорогие друзья, с открытием инклюзивного мероприятия Сабхав. Желаем вам творческих успехов, счастья и здоровья. Спасибо.
В культурно-спортивном реабилитационном комплексе Всероссийского общества слепых сложилась замечательная традиция. Начиная с лета ежегодно мы готовимся к фестивалю инклюзивному, который называется «Sambhav» и проходит в Индии. К участию в этом фестивале мы приглашаем исполнителей, которые имеют очень стабильный творческий уровень и показывают хорошие достижения в исполнительском искусстве. Ребята стараются показать самые лучшие свои произведения, которые они разучили в недавнем прошлом, и делают эти номера очень оригинальными, интересными. Это, как правило, номера, которые касаются фольклорного искусства, номера, которые касаются нашего российского менталитета, номера, которые рассказывают о Руси-матушке, о том, какая она была в прошлом, какая она сегодня, и мечтают о будущем, и думают о том, что никогда Россия не сможет жить без искусства, без культуры, без исполнительского мастерства. Поэтому мы с удовольствием направляем на этот фестиваль ребят все новых и новых, которые знакомят своим искусством людей на замечательной нашей солнечной, веселой и интересной планете. Я желаю фестивалю высоких достижений, уровня роста, и пускай всегда будет высок интерес к этому замечательному мероприятию. Пусть вам сопутствует удача и успех.
Dear friends, it's my great privilege to greet Guru A.L.P.A.N.A, honorable guests and participants of the International Inclusive Event Sambhav 2022 from Russia. First of all, I would like to thank the Society, Association for Learning, Performing Arts and Normative Action for organizing this wonderful event. Sambhav brings together people from different countries. I also thank the Government of India for supporting the annual International Inclusive Event. The Association of Indians in Russia and the Center for Indian Culture in Moscow closely cooperates with all Russia Association of Blind. We are glad that we can provide support and assistance to those who experience additional difficulties in everyday life. Our cooperation is supported by the Embassy of India in the Russian Federation. At the initiative of the All Russian Association of Blind, in 2019 in Vladivostok, in the easternmost region of Russia, agreements were reached between organizations working in the field of rehabilitation of visually impaired and blind people in Russia, India and China for further cooperation. Combining the efforts of these organizations will help our countries develop new technologies to help those who have lost their sight study the culture of our countries, open up new horizons, and implement joint projects. It is worth noting that Russian-Indian relations have a long history, which began with the journey of Afanasy Nikitin in the 15th century and continues uninterruptedly to this day. In our time, meetings and negotiations at the highest level are held annually, at which key area of cooperation between the two countries as well as topical international and regional problems are discussed. It is important that Russia and India also cooperate in the non-profit and social spheres. Moscow and New Delhi are successfully cooperating in the varieties of area and formats. This year we not only celebrated the 75th anniversary of Indian independence, but also this year the 75th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between Russia and India. Our countries are united by spirituality, common human values, and common priorities. Dear friends, today we must act together for a better future. On my own behalf, I will separately note that, as always, I will work to develop Russian-Indian cooperation in all areas. I wish the organizers and participants of the international inclusive event Sambhav prosperity, success, good luck and health. Develop your ability, do not forget your creativity. Be hardworking. Remember that Moscow and Delhi are brothers for life. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Mr. Andrei Mokhalin, Mr. Tagir Khayaletdinov, and Mr. Sanjit Kumar Jha for your very encouraging and informative presentations. Our next speaker is Dr. Pachariun Karthikenchan, PhD, Basic Education School Board Committee and Advisory in Special Education, Developmental Disabilities and Clinical Physiology from Art for All, Thailand.
Thank you, moderator. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor to be part of this important seminar based on my 26 years of experience with Art for All Foundation. We believe in inclusiveness for all the children. Disability is one of the vulnerabilities which we have to address in order to achieve inclusiveness for sustainable development, which is guided by the Disability Inclusive Development Strategy of UNDP Thailand 2022 to 2026. There are three priorities: promotion equal rights, strengthening economic empowerment, and mainstreaming disability inclusion. Disability survey conducted in Thailand by National Statistics Office in 2017 and quoted by the latest report from UNDP 2022, there's 5.5% of the population in Thailand. Only three types of disability identified: mobility, visual, and hearing impairment. The lack of data and information on other disabilities and the situation of persons with disability at the national level contributes to the invisible of persons with disability in official statistics, presenting an obstacle to achieve development planning and implementation that is inclusive for persons with disability. Why do disability statistics matter? Since 2007, Thailand has had a legal instrument for the inclusion of disability. First, the Education for Persons with Disability Act 2008. Second, the Empowerment of Disability Act 2007, a major transformation of perspective on person disability in Thailand from charity-based to right-based. The 2013 revision has introduced new key policy and infrastructure such as community-based rehabilitation, disability service center, and anti-discrimination mechanism. In reality now, not all the persons with disability receive government welfare assistance. Only those that fits the government category will get it. It is combined with gender, poverty, age in the remote area. These are the actual vulnerabilities that we need to address. Making inclusive education a reality for children with disability is still needed for Thailand. Literacy is important and a requirement to access government welfare and opportunity to be active in the society. How about the elderly, ADHD and autism? Where are they in the state as the others? The differences between city, urban, rural infrastructure for accessibility, such as public transportation, service, technology, or employment. We need to raise awareness for all stakeholders to acknowledge that not her disability condition, but environmental barriers which obstruct her access to be an active citizen for her community. Thailand is now an aging society. If you look at the stat types and age group, how and who will take responsibility, and what is really the definition of disability we will be working on, as well as the assessment. Thailand needs investment in planning, design, and construction of community to ensure environmental inclusiveness and accessibility in moving towards the goal of creating a society which meets the needs and capacity of all users. It is important to recognize and acknowledge the people and organizations that continue to fight for all disabilities, not limited to the government definition. Art for All Foundation needs all the support to continue our belief that we will leave no one behind. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pacharayon, for your very valuable presentation. Our next speaker is Mr. Mahabubul Munir, Secretary General of SWID, Bangladesh.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. My warmest felicitation and best wishes to Honorable Chairperson, all friends and participants in the Sambhav 2022 organized by ALPANA Society. It is truly a great honor and pleasure for me in getting the opportunity to say something before you in this august audience. This is Muhammad Mahabubul Munir, Secretary General, SWID, Bangladesh. We are always advocating for creating awareness and motivation to involve the government and the people on disability issue all over the Bangladesh since 1977. The government of Bangladesh is becoming very proactive and show keen interest to do the best possible things through our persuasion, advocacy and motivational activities. In accordance with guiding principle of Constitution of Bangladesh and UNCRPD, the government of Bangladesh enacted two comprehensive law in the title Disability Rights and Protection Act and Neurodevelopmental Disability Rights and Protection Trust Act in 2013. SWID Bangladesh is working very significantly to assist the government for implementation of the provision of these two laws. Now, the government is taking a lot of program as per the law to establish the citizen rights of the persons with disability. As essential as integral part of the law, sports, cultural activities, leisure and recreation activities, tourism is considered to establish for the betterment and well-being for persons with disability. As a result, the undergoing process on the implementation of the law, nowadays persons with disability are getting more support than earlier in a conducive environment. Dear friends and followers, ALPANA is doing a tremendous work, is bridging up the people of the international arena.
Next speaker is Mrs. Mrinalini Padhi, Honorary Secretary, Indian Red Cross Society, Sahai, Odisha, India.
Namaskar. Hello everybody. I am the Honorary Secretary of a Red Cross organization called Sahai, which works for differently able children. I am Mrinalini Padhi. I would like to share our journey with these children and working with performing arts as a therapeutic form of bringing about behavior modification with children with disabilities. And in these 31 years that we have worked in this field, we've had a whole spectrum of children with challenges, be them the visually impaired, the hearing impaired, and the autistic with hyperactivity. And we were amazed at the kind of impact that behavior modification could have on these children. In fact, it was an extension of my personal experience where as a kid I had moved, as a lanky young girl, I had moved from a sleepy town of Cuttack to Delhi, and I was terrified with the elite of Delhi, and did not have the confidence to face that society. And that is when the famous actress Sushma Seth was running a children's creative club in Delhi, and I joined her club, and that kind of blossomed me and enabled me to face the challenges that I was going through at that stage of my life. And not only that, I moved on to doing a lot of Odia Jatras in Delhi and my Odissi dance. So all the whatever little I could learn, that is where I realized that this kind of enables you to grow and to face whatever circumstances come with human interactions that you would need to face. So when we started this school in 91, I thought, why not try my whatever little I learned in my own life onto these children who are on a daily basis facing so much challenges in their lives. And what started as a humble experiment, the children really amazed us the way they kind of, in fact not amazed, they overwhelmed us with the way they were able to adapt, to accommodate, and to accept others in their lives. And I say that the way they were able to offer emotional hospitality to other children with disabilities.
Thank you so much, Madam Mrinalini. Our next speaker is Ms. Suzanne Whiteman from Attenville Dance Studio, Australia.
Hi everyone at Sambhav 22. Greetings from Australia. My name is Suzanne Whiteman from the Alstonville Dance Studio. I live in this beautiful regional town on the East Coast. Here in Australia, COVID restrictions have been lifted, but we're currently facing a fresh new wave. COVID put a stop to a disability arts research project known as The Last Avant-Garde. But at the same time, it gave life to a new artwork in the form of a disability pride mural. Today I'm going to show you some footage from both those projects, some with captioning, some with audio description, and I'm also welcoming you into my dance studio. Here I am at my studio working with my Little Dragons group. When we were locked down, we would bring nature inside every chance we had. So many rules for us to follow, and I tried to find creative ways to encourage social distancing, mask wearing, and hand sanitising, which was not always easy coming out of COVID. So like the rest of the world, we adapted our practice and even made a little film about it all. Here is some footage from that film.
The warning signs are everywhere and the playgrounds are now shut. We stay safe, we have the distance, wash our hands a lot. Just breathing the air can be life-threatening for me, my family and friends. Locked away in my home, normal life has come to an end.
Last Avant-Garde is a disability research project led by my friend Kath Duncan. Creative workshops were held all around Australia in the hope of developing models for artists with disabilities. Today I'm showing you some footage from workshops in the Northern Territory and in Queensland. Together we collaborated and in both these workshops improvised. And as a dancer and theatre maker myself, wow, I had such a good time.
Hands fiddle with 3 objects resting on grey carpet. A twig with dry woody seed pods. A flaky grey rock. Collaborators sit, stand or lie around a room working solo or in small groups. A man sits cross-legged on the floor, face pressed into a length of red fabric which matches his red t-shirt. He tightly grabs onto the fabric, slams it down onto the floor, then presses it into his face again as if muffling a scream. Sitting in a manual wheelchair, Carolyn Bowditch holds the Sturt Desert Pea in one hand and probes its form with the other, fingers tracing around the sharp petals. She nods slightly and shrugs, then places it down. She forms a triangle with the fingers and thumbs of both hands, then draws it from side to side across her chest. She rolls her shoulders back, then exhales, gaze fixed downward. A man with glasses lies face down, tattooed arms extended before him. One hand forms a loose claw that opens and closes jerkily. The other holds a pen, grasping its tip with bunched fingers. The hand guides the pen across a notepad in arcing bursts of motion. His gaze flicks between the claw and the pen. The woman moving with the cane user is now bent at the waist and squatting slightly, face near the cane's tip, still tracking its movement to and fro. A photographer lies on her stomach beside them to capture the moment. A collaborator sits cross-legged at left, a white pipe hoisted over his shoulders at its tip. The length of the pipe droops down beside him and he struggles to stand, the pipe totally unbalanced on the fulcrum of his shoulders. He takes ginger steps forward, creating a large right-angled triangle formed by the pipe, his body, and the floor. As he moves, the pipe's tip moves as well, the pipe's length taking up a vast, clear space on the floor. This time, one flattens the other against a wall, using a pipe. She spreads her arms wide, then high, and the pipe wielder scans it up her body to her fingertips, then back down to her heels. Then she hooks a leg over it, pressing her weight through the pipe and rolling the body forward. Fade to black.
My friend Larissa McFarlane came out of COVID spreading her disability pride message and creating a unique street art. I've been doing handstands with Larissa since we first met, and these are featured throughout her work, along with her favourite disability advocates and mentors. On the day of filming, Larissa tested positive for COVID. So along came our friend, artist Billy Parsons, and her dog Tui. And I asked her what she thought about the Disability Pride Wall.
This is a new Disability Pride Wall, so it's the first time in the city of Melbourne that they've had this. And it's to show how far we've come, but how far we have to go. But it gives us the strength to see the people that have come before us. As an artist, I appreciate the style, the vaulting from what would be a normal etching to big pieces on the wall like this, oversized but standing out. I particularly love there's an Indigenous flag up high on the wall here. It's a beautiful piece of work and it looks like it's in really good condition, and I think that time's on its side. If that be the case, I think that people are letting it be, and you know, you might have to get up close to read the messages, but that's the idea, is getting up close and not being afraid of disability and what it contains. I think as an artist, showing disability pride through artwork is probably inspirational at the least. I think that it's imperative that although we feel ourselves at the fringes of society, that in fact we're immersed right in the middle of it, agitating as we go for difference, for change, for the opportunity to show what we can do, or just making that opportunity happen for ourselves. Disability pride is something you only gather by practicing. So being gentle to yourself, looking after your friends, being proud of who you are as a person and what you have to offer the world, and not being ashamed of that. I think that's what disability pride is.
Thank you everyone for watching my presentation today. It was such a shame we didn't get to meet again in person, but hoping next year we can do it.
I stare at you, staring at me. I cannot tell you what I mean, so I'll sing, I'll shout, I'll yell and let it all out. Can you hear me? Let me see. Do you get me as I speak? An invisible wall is in the way. Do you get what I say? I'm looking at you in the face. A smile from you lets me know I'm safe.
All right, cool.
Thank you, Ms. Suzanne. It was a very well-researched paper. After Australia, Ms. Thushari Fernando from Mother Charitable Foundation, Sri Lanka, will give her presentation.
Hello everyone, Namaste. Congratulations for Sambhav 2022. I'm Thushari Fernando, representing Mother Charitable Foundation from Sri Lanka. Awareness about disability in my country. Sri Lanka, the island nation in the Indian Ocean, has 22.1 million of population and has the disability prevalence rate of 8.7% of the total population. Disability in Sri Lankan society is weaved through cultural taboo and religious stigma. Mother Charitable Foundation has worked with persons with disabilities and their families for many years to understand that in Sri Lankan society, persons with disability and their families face immense stigma and discrimination within families and in the society. The families are unable to protect the person with disabilities from social stigma, and in many cases, they tend to hide the respective person from outside society. It will eventually lead to denied access for education, skill development, and access to have a healthy social life. The statistics reveal that 95.7% of the persons with disabilities do not engage in any educational activity. In Sri Lanka, the main providers of education for children with disabilities are special education units attached to state and private schools, special schools under the Ministry of Education, and a limited number of private development centers. Lack of education and basic life skills will result a dependent person physically and mentally, and in the end, economically. Majority of the persons with disability in Sri Lanka are economically inactive and dependent on their caregivers. Alternatively, most of the families with a person with disability, especially the siblings of the persons with disability, do not have necessary skills and knowledge needed to interact with their disabled sibling, which will deny them from having a good relationship. And in many cases, many persons with disability find themselves helpless and homeless once their primary caregiver passes away. Public awareness and understanding on disability is low and limited to state awareness campaigns on World Disability Day and a few local and international NGO movements within the country. Lack of understanding will negatively impact the person with disabilities, and it creates barriers for them at working places, schools, and in public places. However, the government promotes the welfare of the people living with disabilities, where the National Secretariat for Persons with Disabilities provides monthly financial assistance for the disabled persons in Sri Lanka. Additionally, the state assistance in self-employment, housing, medical, education, and school material assistance for the persons with disabilities makes a significant contribution for the well-being of their lives. Pathum Muyana, one of the main education projects in Mother Charitable Foundation, is a center for education and skill development for children and adults with disabilities. The center is intended to provide instructive support to reduce the gap between the persons with disabilities and their family members through learn and practice of basic life skills with necessary academic skills. The training program equips disabled persons with basic self-care, life, social, and communication skills to successfully integrate into society. It will also include providing vocational training to enable these individuals to become economically independent. Pathumuyana creates a place of acceptance for persons with disabilities without any discrimination and social stigma. Mother Charitable Foundation, working with the persons with disabilities for more than a decade, comment that if we want to reach the goal of inclusion of persons with disabilities in society, empowering persons with disabilities and their caregivers is the best way to eventually change social perceptions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fernando, for your very valuable inputs. The last speaker of this seminar is Sister Rani from MP Viklang Sahayata Samiti, Madhya Pradesh, India.
While writing the foreword to World Report on Disability 2011, Professor Stephen Hawking stated, "Disability need not to be an obstacle to success. We have a moral duty to remove the barriers of participation and to invest sufficient funding and expertise to unlock the vast potential of people with disabilities. Governments throughout the world can no longer overlook the hundreds of millions of people with disabilities who are denied access to health, rehabilitation, support, education and employment and never get the chance to shine. Ideally, these words should be put into action by governments all over the world, and some progressive countries have taken action to make life easier for their citizens with disabilities. India still lags behind in a big way when it comes to removing infrastructural, institutional and attitudinal barriers for the person with disabilities. The first thing to be done is to move away from the charity-based approach to the rights-based approach. A significant proportion of people see a person with disabilities as an object of sympathy and pity, thereby leading to their othering and their treatment as a third-class citizens in the country. Aim of the disability awareness programs is to educate people. Firstly, to educate society to decimate negative and ill-informed attitudes and making them aware of the fact that disability can happen at any point in life, and despite disabilities, people are living productive and constructive lives. And secondly, making persons with disabilities aware of their disability, its impact, their abilities despite the bodily impairments and existing laws, government schemes, policies and entitlements. The evolution of the disability rights movement (DRM) in India spans over 4 decades. Voices began demanding the rights of people suffering from disabilities in the early 1970s. It was, however, nowhere close to being a movement at that point. The various demands from groups and individuals were significantly scattered. Throughout the 1970s and 1980s, the DRM remained largely a battle between a few individuals against the system and society. These individuals were very few in number, since few families had the capacity and will to support their differently abled children. The media was also completely mute over this, since this issue was never interesting enough to create the hype that other issue could. For politicians, the rights of disabled persons were a non-issue. Disabled people were not considered as a vote bank, as they were people with no voice. Unlike the caste movements and women's rights movements, the DRM had no leader. The PWD Act enacted by Parliament in 1995 was focused more on rights. The substantive provisions of the Act relate to prevention and early detection, education, employment, affirmative action, non-discrimination or barrier-free access, research and manpower development, and institutions for persons with severe disabilities. The Rights of Persons with Disabilities Bill 2014 defines for the first time the meaning of disability and extended it from 7 to 21 categories. Categories included sickle cell dysemia, thalassemia, muscular dystrophy, autism spectrum disorder, blindness, cerebral palsy, chronic neurological conditions, mental illness, and multiple disabilities. We at Madhya Pradesh Viklang Sahayata Samiti aim at making odious efforts to create an inclusive society where people with disabilities are accepted to the mainstream economy and social life. Our work is spread across 4 districts of MP, Ujjain, Shajapur, Agarmalwa and Rajgarh. We believe that the joy of an independent, empowered and fulfilled life should be made accessible to all those who are willing to work. and for that we have stepped up several special schools, community centers, vocational training centers, integrated training centers and hostels for children with special needs. We also provide therapeutic intervention to the children and as well as adults through our physiotherapy and occupational therapy units at various centers. MBBSS has also opened the avenues to the people with deaf blindness under the SPURS program with the support of Sense International India. The goal of this program is development and rehabilitation of people with deaf blindness through identification and assessment of their skill and capacity. MBBSS also took the step to train and build the eligible and dedicated human resources in the field of rehabilitation and special education through Manovikas College of Special Education. The college offers RCI approved regular B.Ed Special Education in ID and D.Ed Special Education in Deaf Blind. Sports and games help a lot in the development of special children. Our children have participated in sports and games competitions at various district, national and international levels and even won medals at the Olympics. The institute also encourages participation of the students in various state and national level cultural activities. A key part of the challenges is mindsets and behaviors that persist in society towards how we view the disabled person. To become employable, these people have overcome not just their physical or mental disability, but have also demonstrated courage, determination, grit and strength of character to get what we would classify as normal jobs. For this reason, industrialist Anand Mahindra likes to call such individuals person with extra ability, as they have had to go above and beyond to prove themselves. Children and community members meeting a hero survivor or a PWD who has achieved great success in life can be inspirational for children who are normal as well as special. A hero survivor who is fighting everyday struggle with great passion and commitment for his or her own well-being becomes their hero. They could inspire others by speaking about how they are coping with the challenges they face and how they keep themselves going with whatever is available. It encourages the parents of special children to motivate their children to keep going and finding the path where their child can become an achiever. Today, there are cafes, restaurants, NGOs run by people with disabilities, which is the best example to show how such people can stand on their feet and meet their own needs. Exposure and appreciation of such places will go a long way. A community dialogue between the representatives of PWDs and their caregivers and the concerned government authorities will result in initiatives by government that can help them live a normal life. In reducing the topic of disability and rights of PWDs on different local level platforms in both rural and urban areas such as Gram Panchayat, local health committees and patient welfare committees will result in more developments. It is our duty to make the world an inclusive place for PWDs and their caregivers. Being aware, empathetic towards them is the first step. Efforts to make their lives better is the next step that leads to practical solutions with concrete result.
Thank you, Sister Rani. We thank all our eminent panelists for making their very informative presentations in our seminar. Thank you so much.